have you submitted Urolithin A to, are you familiar with the NIH's interventions testing program?
Sure, we are. Yeah. So the NIH intervention program is a preclinical testing program where you give it to a group run by Rafael Cabo, and they basically look at interventions such as rapamycin or metformin or other natural products that can extend lifespan in rodents. Okay, now just so you understand, rodents, the ones that are studied in the lab, get the perfect diet and they get water that is pure, and so I prefer to actually run trials on nutrients and show the effect. So in response to that, no, they haven't tested it, but the NIH is now testing Urolithin A in 2 randomized clinical trials, one of which is actually running here close to you, Cedar-Sinai.
Wow.
This is focused on recovery of cancer patients, because in cancer what happens is the mitochondria also become dysfunctional. The radiation therapy and chemotherapy causes all our cells to become stressed, and so there's a lot of what we call oxidative stress. So they're trying to see if taking Urolithin A is going to dampen that oxidative stress in the body. So that's one trial the NIH is running, or the National Cancer Institute is running. The second trial they're now running is with the National Institute of Aging, where they're looking at if in people who are pre-diabetic, so they have, insulin resistance, they can metabolize, they have metabolic, let's say, dysfunction. Can Urolithin A normalize metabolic health and improve, for example, glucose absorption?
So those trials are underway now?
These are all independent trials being run by the NIH, so they are testing it in clinical trials.
Wow, exciting. So what have you guys found? I know there's some exciting research looking at the impact of supplemental Urolithin A on muscle strength and the like. Yeah, can you speak to that, the
Sure.
studies that you guys have already run?
Sure. So we started out actually first studying mitochondrial decline during the aging process. And the first trials I did was basically looking at 75-plus-year-old older adults who were very active. They were training for half marathons at 70, 75 years of age. And then we compared them to sort of very sedentary, couch potato, almost 75-year-olds. And so the way you study mitochondria is you take small chunks of muscle tissue. This is a process. You need to do a procedure called a biopsy, muscle biopsy. You take very small chunks, almost like a bee sting, and then you look under in terms of a genomic profile. So you'd look at the mitochondrial health in that biopsy. And what we found was that the people were very active. They had amazing mitochondria. They were like red hot, pumping out energy. And the ones who were couch potatoes, they were all sluggish, and it's almost like when you look in an electron microscope, the power grid, you can actually see inside a mitochondria the power grid, and in the healthy guys the power grid is really functional, and in the couch potato sedentary folks it's like spaghetti.
Wow.
It's really like that. And the mitochondria don't talk well to each other. They're almost like, I say mitochondria are friendly, very friendly creatures. They like to be next to each other because they always, it's like a grid. You pass off energy to another one.
Wow.
And so that's the first thing we found in these old people. And then we took the sedentary people and we started put them in a randomized clinical trial, placebo control, where we gave either placebo, 500 milligrams of Urolithin A, or a gram of Urolithin A. And in about a month, we started to see the 500 and the gram dose in a dose-dependent manner start to shift these impaired mitochondria to a healthy mitochondria status. So that we can take biopsies before and after a month of the trial, and we can compare. And so these were the first trials that showed us that we could change the signature of mitochondria in a metabolically active organ compared to placebo. And Urolithin A was bioavailable, that even people who came with almost non-essential levels of Urolithin A, we could put them in with chronic supplementation. We could push the levels to what I call therapeutic levels, or let's say highly bioavailable levels. The second and the follow-up trials that we have done, these are again randomized placebo-controlled trials. These were of longer duration, about 2 to 4 months. In the older adults, we see we've shifted to healthy older adults because I understand that our products are targeting people who have impaired mitochondria, but we also wanted to see if they would help those who had healthy mitochondria, doing everything right. And so there we found about a 20% increase in muscle endurance. So the test we run is, and this was with the University of Washington, we did this. The test we run is like a fatigue test. So you keep on doing like a leg press, okay, in the gym. After a while, you get your leg muscles get sore and you stop. And so the people on Urolithin A, after 2 to 4 months of taking the supplementation, kept on going 20% longer compared to placebo. Wow. So that was the first real clinical evidence that, in addition to the one I described at the sort of more molecular signature that we were seeing, what had been noticed for 10 plus years in different species. We went even younger to about 40, 50-year-olds who are also, healthy, trying to see if we would see the same effects. And that's where we saw, after 4 months, about a 10 to 12% increase in muscle strength compared to placebo.
Wow.
Yeah, in the leg muscles, so mostly the quadriceps and the hamstrings.
That's super interesting. When I read those early studies done in older adults, I decided to put my dad on Mitopure.
Yeah.
But to be honest, he's getting him to stick to even taking a multivitamin. I mean, is like impossible for my dad, know. But that research was really exciting to me because my dad is like completely sedentary, and I recognize that mitochondrial dysfunction is one of these characteristics associated with poor aging outcomes. So it's super exciting. And even in younger adults, I mean, that's pretty compelling that you found a 10 to 20% increase in strength.
Yes, over 4 months. So it's not a magic pill. And that's what I always say. It's not like, you take it for a few days and you expect your mitochondria to suddenly, what we see in humans, if we really study it at the molecular level, the molecule induces mitophagy, so cleans out the faulty mitochondria. And in about a month, we start seeing what we call biogenesis, mitochondrial biogenesis. Again, a complex term, but what it means is that now you have the creation of newer healthy mitochondria come in. And then about 2-4 months and beyond, what we start seeing is really physiological effects, improvement in aerobic endurance, and then following 4 to 6 months, we see more effects on strength. And chronic inflammation. That's another standout. Let's say doctors ask me, so what do I tell my patients? Who do I give Urolithin A Mitopure to? And I say the one person who will absolutely respond is people who have high levels of chronic inflammation, because the more chronic inflammation you have in your body, the more chances that your mitochondria are dysfunctional. Because it's almost like a leaky mitochondria, right? And they're releasing these bad mitochondria that becomes seen by the body as sort of a danger that you're stressed. And so that drives chronic inflammation. And so we unanimously see in all these trials lower CRP, which is like a C-reactive protein, which is a biomarker of inflammation.
And your background, you're a medical doctor and immunologist.
Yeah, so I was trained in internal medicine in India and the US, and then I got my PhD at the University of Connecticut here in the US.
Super interesting. How did you first stumble upon this compound?
So, well, I've been fascinated. I was trained by one of the best physician scientists, and once they gave me a molecule actually extracted from the stem of pineapples called bromelain, which is basically a proteolytic enzyme. It was helpful for asthmatics at that time. So that got my interest in the natural product space of that. In medicine, what I saw was that a lot of times we were seeing patients at the end of the chronic disease spectrum, like where things were too late. You were just trying to make the symptom go away, or you weren't really treating the root cause of the disease. And so that got my interest more into natural products. And I realized, I did my time at Nestle's of the world as well, and I realized there wasn't really deep research going on there. It was just, as you said, blend of vitamins and minerals that they were putting in. And so that's how I got into bringing the biotech approach to nutrition, going after natural compounds that had previously not been discovered, and to see if they could bring you health benefits much like what pharma does at the end stage of those chronic diseases. And you're in your 70s and 80s, you have Alzheimer's, and it's already too late. So that's where I think we have tried to make a little impact over the 15 years of research. Is you start early, you be proactive in your 40s and 50s, because you want to be fit when you're 80, right? So it's really a marathon. That's how I see longevity.
Yeah. Hey, if you like that video, you need to check out this one here, and I'll see you there.